Okay, I wanted to do another video. I was down in Detroit on business, so haven't uploaded a video. I did one down there at the worst Motel 6 you could possibly imagine, and I did a little video there, just to keep something on my channel, and some thoughts as to why I do these things, why I'm into car audio and in audio in general. And but I wanted to do a video on a speaker that I personally was blown away by. I paid, I want to say 125 or 150 for this pair. Um, I I haven't used them a whole lot, but when I have been super impressed by these cabinets. This is the Cerwin Vega D-5. It is not entirely original because the driver, the sub driver is actually out of a D7. But there wasn't a whole lot of difference. They The D7 had numbers that reached down a little further, but that could be due to the the cabinet, because the cabinet on those was larger. So I think it could have um, made it get lower in the hertz range. Either way, these things absolutely slam for a 12. Um, I've heard 15-inch cabinets that these would absolutely destroy. Um, they move they move a lot of air and a lot of sound, and they sound really good doing it. These have been I'll take a look here. These have been refoamed with excellent job. I bought these from a guy down in the Detroit area who is a Cerwin Vega fanatic. He personally redid these, and you can see the glue job is even. There's plenty there. I like to see that. If it bleeds over a little bit, makes no difference to me. The dust cap was kept in its original, and you'll see this right here. That's common on these. That's even factory looks like that. He was a super nice gentleman who, what he does is he finds Cerro Vegas where the foam is rotted and buys them for, pennies on the dollar because people think they're blown or ruined, refoams them, and then sells them. But he doesn't sell them for a huge price. He sells them for a reasonable price. He was a super cool guy. Um, and I couldn't be happier with these cabinets. I've used them for my rears. I've used them for my fronts, but once I got the klipsches, they kind of stay there. Um, the differences on these to like the AT10, it has a different tweeter, which is like more of a it's not a don't, it's like a compression tweeter. Some people don't like them as well. I think this is an awesome sounding tweeter. Very large. Um, I don't know. I'm gonna call it a 6 inch. It's a big mid range. These are front ported. Most Vegas are ported. Just a ton of air comes out of this thing. Um, but somehow, even being squared off, you don't get chuffing. You don't get, like, usually if a port doesn't have like a rounded edge, you'll get that. These don't have that. I don't know how they were able to do that. Um, the are a, the D series were known to be better made cabinets than the AT series. I'm not so sure I agree with that. I like the look of the AT better, but as far as like actual construction, I think they're both well made cabinets. Um, let's see. Well, turn around here, and um, they have a let's see if I can get some light back here. They have a high level frequency adjustment. They also have on the tweeter a circuit breaker that's self-resetting. So if you're overdriving it, it will shut it down. But then, but then, but then it'll automatically turn back on, and that's within the crossover network. They have the push terminals, very common on Cerwin Vegas. Their 8 ohm impedance, which Cerwin Vegas, dude, they did 8, 6, 4. I believe the larger ones are 4 ohm. Other than that, it's just a basic back of a speaker. It's obviously MDF with a laminate. This is not a real wood laminate. I don't know. I don't believe it is. It looks nice. In fact, I think it looks more like real wood than the AT. It doesn't have it's smooth. The AT has the veneer is like it puts a grain into it to give it a better, a more realistic wood look. There was the D-5, which was a superior driver, but I mean, these things absolutely slam. They sound great. I think this is a better sounding speaker than the AT10, but only because it has a 12 larger mid range, and I do prefer the sound of this compression tweeter. Other than that, I can't say enough about them. If you're a Cerwin Vega fan and you don't like the D series, you're not a Cerwin Vega fan. I mean, they nailed it. I think the same thing with the AT. The only series I think people could make an argument for was the LS series. And then Cerwin Vega had some really low production, very low run, high price point drivers, and those would probably stand up better. But these things go for, well, and I don't know because I haven't looked recently because Cerwin Vegas are going through the roof, but $150, you're going to get yourself an excellent set of these, and they're absolutely going to destroy anything twice as much in that price range retail at a store today. I mean, yes, it's a big cabinet and people aren't willing to make that sacrifice, but one thing is the surround that was replaced, and I don't know if you can see me pushing on it. This is not as high of compliance as I'm used to on a Cerwin Vega, but that's gonna change the QTS. But I have no problems with them. I love these things. They get loud and they're fairly accurate. And now I'm going to read off specs that I looked up for these things to give you an idea. There's not as much information as I would have thought on these. Which is interesting because there's a ton of major Cerwin Vega fans, and if they want to chime in and add some more specs that they know of, I would love that because I love Cerwin Vega. It's not my favorite. Well, it's up there. It's top five uh, speaker companies in my book because I enjoy their sound. They're bass heavy. I love bass. I don't like boomy, muddy bass, but that's not their game. It's tight. It's loud. It's very very present. Um, so the sensitivity on these is a very respectable 98 dB. The frequency response on these is 32 hertz to 20,000 hertz. The power handling um, is rated 5 watts to 150 watts, which was fairly modest. I think you can. I think that's modest because I've put 200 watts to them, and they. I mean, I don't know if I do that, all day every day, but they handled it no problem and sounded sweet doing it. The tweeter didn't break up, the mid range didn't break up, and the woofer was asking for more. Um, uh, the uh, the impedance is 8 ohms, as I said. They have a maximum rating of 117 dB. I think you can get more out of these. I mean, you feed them some more watts, and I think they would have no problem uh, per cabinet reaching above 117. Because I've heard 117 cabinets, and I think these would absolutely destroy them. Um, the D5 is a 44-pound cabinet. The D7 was a 70-pound cabinet, but it was a larger cabinet, which probably is why they. Gosh, I forgot to write it down, but they do hit. I want to say it's 28 hertz is what they claim to get down to. Um, the distortion of the cabinet is 0.6 on the D5, 0.5% on uh, the D7. So it's so it's the if you can get a D7, get a D7. This woofer, he did replace these woofers. These are D7 woofers. I thought that the voice coil was smaller on a D5, but it's actually the same as the D7. They're both 2-inch voice coils. But yeah, great speakers. I'm gonna do a little video here in a minute, post it, and I'm gonna run them. But it is very difficult to really give you a good representation of sound of a speaker through YouTube, especially filming from a phone. But I'll go ahead and do it so you can at least see these things flex because they absolutely throw, which is a hallmark of Cerwin Vega. These things, they've got a really respectable X Max for the time period that they were out, and that's a little walkthrough and review of the D5.